Hello everybody and welcome to a replica airguns video. My name is Michael K. Today we're looking at the Crosman PRO77 BB pistol. First off, I want to thank Crosman Corporation for sending me this air pistol for review. Also make sure to check out my Crosman C41 review that I also did recently. Let's go over some of the specifications. This is a blowback metal and polymer constructed gun. So it has a metal slide and a plastic frame with other metal components. This pistol uses 12 gram CO2 cartridges. It also uses 4.5mm steel BBs. This pistol has a 17 shot plastic dropout magazine. It has a non-rifled barrel and it's a single action only pistol. This gun has a claimed feet per second of 325. Now it says 325 on the packaging, but on Crosman's website it's claimed at 350. Now this isn't a copy of any specific gun in production, but it does look similar to a few different pistols. I'll just show you a couple that I have that I think it looks similar to really quickly. Here we have the Umarex HPP, and you can see that the back part of this gun is kind of similar. I also have the Steyr M9 here, and the front part is kind of similar. So I think they're taking a little bit of a few different guns and merging them together to make this specific design. Crosman seems to actually rarely license any actual guns. Now the bulk of this gun is made in the USA. It does say on the packaging made in the USA, but there's a little note saying that some parts are made elsewhere. This gun comes in plastic packaging. I'll show you just kind of quickly here. Don't want to really zoom out for this, but it comes in this plastic packaging, and mine was actually the PRO77 kit. So it came with BBs, it came with 2 CO2 cartridges, and it also came with these nice shades. Well, they're not shades, they're shooting glasses. I actually like these ones, they're very discreet. Now on the left side of this gun, as mentioned before, we have the metal slide, plastic frame. Now this is a moving slide. I'll be showing you that a little bit later. The ejection port is not cut out, so it's molded into the steel slide. Now the warning text on this gun is nice and discreet as well. It's not overly flashy. It's basically stamped into the frame instead of like some other guns where they use white lettering. This is a little more discreet. You also have the Crosman logo on the handle. Now the trigger is metal. You can see it's single action only. There's no actual double action, so you actually have to cock this gun prior to shooting, and that happens with the blowback action. The slide release is metal. And then there's this sort of little plastic molded in part. I'm not sure what it's trying to represent, but that's plastic molded into the frame. You also have your magazine release here, and it's plastic. The magazine is plastic. I'll show you that a little bit more in a bit. Let's take a look at the right side of the gun. Now you have your PRO77 branding here on the slide. You have a metal safety. It just toggles back and forth. It's very light. It's a little bit unusual. It's not what I'm used to, but it works very well. So there you're on fire mode, safe mode. Again, you have the Crosman logo on the handle portion of the frame. Again, the ejection port is not cut out. Now on the bottom of this gun, not too much going on. You have your rail here for things like lights, lasers, different things like that. Again, you have your removable magazine. Very easy to load. Pretty typical. The spring is heavy. When you pull it down, it goes into this notch here, and you just gravity feed your BBs. There is a magnet in the top here which holds the top few in place. When your magazine's full with the 17 BBs, just let go of the spring and all the BBs will move forward when you shoot. Show you the bottom here really quick. It has a screw-in CO2, so you do need something like a quarter to screw this in. CO2 goes in there obviously. I find a little dab of Crosman Pelgan oil on here helps with the friction in here. I also sometimes will put Pelgan oil on the threads, because sometimes these threaded magazines like this, or any place where there's friction when you're trying to do up a CO2, can be very tight. And I found this one when I didn't use any CO2 lubricant or any lubricant here, it was a little tough to do up the first time. So just using a little bit of Crosman Pelgan oil in there would help that tremendously. Now on the top of this gun, again, here's your slide. Your sights are fairly basic. There's no dots in them, they're non-adjustable. You have your front sight here, it's molded into the slide. The rear sight is molded into the slide. the ejection port is molded into the slide. This screw is probably for disassembly. And again, we have our single action trigger. We're in safety. So we have our single action trigger. Does not shoot double action. You can see the hammer there. It's nice to have a hammer that actually functions on a gun like this. It's a nice touch. Now in the front of this gun, you do have a slightly recessed barrel with a larger diameter opening. Your actual real barrel is about a 1/4 inch in, and you have your non-rifled barrel, 4.5 millimeter barrel in there, which is your real barrel. Now the shroud around the barrel is plastic, which is pretty typical for this style of gun. There's really no need for this part to be metal, and metal will actually show scratches more than the plastic will. Okay, so now we're going to head out. We're going to do the chronograph and shooting portion of this test. I'm going to shoot 8 BBs through this gun with a full CO2 cartridge to see what kind of real-world feet per second average test results we get. I'm also going to shoot this gun from 20 feet out in a freestanding position, unrested, to see what kind of accuracy we get with this gun on a target and see what kind of 8-shot grouping we can achieve. So let's head outside now. Alright, so I have my Crosman PRO77 and we're doing the chronograph portion of this test. Now Crosman has a claim feet per second of 325 on the packaging for this gun, but I noticed on their website they state it as 350. So we'll take a look and see how well we do with this. We're going to fire 8 rounds through here and get an average feet per second. So here we go. 306, 307, 298, 290, 278, 274, 264.8, and the last one I believe, 259.3. Okay, so let's head over to the shooting portion of this test now. Okay, so I've got my Crosman PRO77 ready to do the shooting portion of this test. And as always, I'm going to do it from 20 feet away in a freestanding position. And I'm going to take 8 shots on this target and see how close we get to the center and how close the grouping is. Okay, now I've had to modify my grip a little bit for the mount on this gun. As always, when I'm shooting, sometimes this camera gets in the way, so it might affect the shooting. It also is really windy today. Hopefully that doesn't play a role in this. So let's go ahead and shoot 8 rounds now. And that's it. I think that was 8. Oh, pretty respectful. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, you know what? Thought I had an 8th round in here, unless I double shot. But it looks like I only shot 7. Well, that's it. My magazine's empty. So we'll base this on 7 rounds, I guess. Still pretty good. It's about a little over 2-inch grouping. Not too bad for a blowback gun. Okay, so we're going to head inside and finish up this review. Okay, so we're back. We finished our shooting portion of this test. Now in the chronograph portion of this test, the PRO77 started around the 300 feet per second mark and then dropped off a bit. Now it was a pretty cold day today, so I imagine it'll get up and over that a little bit on a hot day. Now the PRO77 also shot pretty well on target, was fairly well centered. You'll see that the mass of the BBs here shot a little bit to the left, but they're pretty well centered. Now this target here represents 41 shots in all. So I shot my original 7. Remember, I didn't actually shoot 8. I accidentally only loaded 7 to the magazine on the testing portion. And then I shot 2 more 17-round magazines into this target, and this is the grouping I got. So pretty close to the original grouping of the 7-shot test result that I did. I was also able to get between 6 and 7 magazines worth of shots through a single CO2, and that's 17 rounds in each magazine. You can do the math. Alright, it's time for the pros and the cons section of this review. Some of the things that I liked about the Pro77, it's a fairly inexpensive blowback gun with a decent amount of metal components in it. So it has good usage of metal parts, like the metal trigger, hammer, slide release and safety, and of course the slide. The Pro77 had a good overall weight and feel. Now I like that it's a true single action blowback shooter. So each time you shoot a round, the slide kicks back, cocks the hammer, and when you pull the trigger, the hammer is released firing another shot, which again causes the slide to go back, repeating the whole cycle. And that's typically how a single action gun works. This gun had reasonable accuracy. I got a little bit better at shooting with this gun over time, as is typically the case. The gun has a nice accessory rail here for different accessories that you want to put on here, and it's basically a Weaver or Picatinny style rail. I like the fact that the CO2 is well hidden inside the handle and underneath the magazine. A couple things that I didn't like about the Pro77. It's a bit low on feet per second compared to some of the other blowback guns that I have. Now typically blowback guns are not going to get the best feet per second results, but I have seen some getting up into the 400s. Now it would have been nice if Crosman had went with a cutout ejection port. That always adds a nice realistic touch to any blowback gun. Now there is good usage of metal parts, but I would have liked to have seen more metal in the magazine. The magazine itself feels quite lightweight. And as is with a lot of these lower cost blowback BB guns, the Crosman Pro77 does not have adjustable sights. I find that it's nice to at least add a windage adjustment on the sights, because most people tend to shoot either left or right. Okay, so that concludes this review of the Crosman Pro77 blowback BB pistol. Now again, as always, make sure to come down to the Replica Airguns website where I have a lot of different reviews and articles on a bunch of different guns, including this one. I also have my Replica Airgun store where I have air pistols, air rifles, blank guns, and accessories. Unfortunately, the Pro77 isn't in my store at this time, but I will include a link in the description to this YouTube video, and of course, a link on my website to purchase this gun through Amazon. Thanks again for watching another Replica Airguns videos. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And until next time, take care.